Hi and welcome to Let's Talk, all about books, social media and news about Auckland events. Carole Beu will be in later from the Women's Bookshop to fill us in on a hot new book. I'll be on about my word of the week, which is QR code. Coming up in a few minutes is Julie Helene, whose skill at short story writing has just won her $10,000 in the BNZ Literary Awards. But first we'll hit another art form, dance, which is the current hot ticket at Q Theatre on Queen Street. Director Celia Walmsley's here to tell us all about it. Hi Celia, it's great to have you in at Let's Talk and the Tempo Dance Festival. I went online to have a look and I couldn't believe how many things are on at Q Theatre in the next few weeks until October 21,
21st,
is it?
yeah.
Yes, so how many dance performances will you be running?
So we have 24 shows and 37 performances over 2 weeks, so we're really packing them in.
Gosh, that's
more
amazing.
than one a day, sometimes 3 a day.
So is this the biggest dance festival in New Zealand?
I believe it is. There is the Body Festival in Christchurch as well, which is also large, but I think probably it is.
And the whole dance scene in New Zealand seems to be really, really healthy at the moment. There's probably more interest in dance now than there has been for a very long time, don't you think? What do you put it down to?
Oh, a growth in the industry, a growth in enthusiasm, some new dance forms. Hip hop, for example, has brought in a lot of people, brought in a lot of boys.
So street dance now
Street dance,
has sort of come on board and just made everybody aware of the skills involved and made people gasp, I guess, with the energy that's involved as well.
The skill level is incredible.
Yeah.
But then there are other dance forms that have been going on for a long time that are still alive and well and healthy. You know, the ballroom, the social dance, the salsa, the line dancing, the rock and roll. There are a lot of social dances that are still alive and well.
Yeah. And of course there's a good old classic ballet.
Of course, of course. And the Royal New Zealand Ballet will be with us in Tempo this year in the duets program, so we're absolutely delighted to have artists from the Royal New Zealand Ballet with us.
Oh, that's pretty special, isn't it? And of course they became much more popular probably on the back of the the Secret Life of Dancers show, which was quite riveting, wasn't it? I mean, even if you didn't know much about ballet, it was such a good piece of human theatre that it was very enjoyable to watch. Yes.
And we're also welcoming Sir John Trimmer. He's going to be doing a mime workshop, and he's also going to be doing an audience with, because he's got so many stories to tell about his life and career.
I know, I saw that. I thought his mime workshop would be absolutely fascinating. Hands-on workshop open to all from 5 to 105.
5 to 105, and not just dancers, actors as well. So anyone, professional or budding or amateur, anyone can come along.
But he must be, what, in his...
He's mature.
70-odd-ish? Will he be? Ish? Yes. I don't know, but he's an amazing guy on the New Zealand dance scene.
And a lovely man.
Yeah.
Very lovely man.
So, and I noticed there's some burlesque as well, which is interesting. It's kind of become respectable, hasn't it, burlesque?
We've got our naughty but nice section. So we've got Mary Jane O'Reilly's In Flagrante.
Right.
And that is returning. It started last year in Tempo, and it's been out on the road and developed in the year gone by, and has come back again to Tempo with a new and exciting show, ending in a...
Which your program says is edgy, wicked, funny and wildly sexy.
Absolutely.
Yes. And what's the
and
other
the other one is Lily
Loca's... Such a big program. Yes.
Lily Loca's Vaudeville Cabaret.
Right.
And that includes male and female performers, so it's not just the women.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because I always imagine it as being women in sort of long black stockings and
no, there's some others in there as well now.
Fantastic.
So that's definitely R18.
Oh, okay.
And they will sell out, so people need to be quick.
Yeah. So how are the ticket sales going? I mean,
tickets are good.
I would have thought, maybe a few years ago you said dance festival, that a whole lot of people might not have been that interested. But has that changed a bit? Do you think more people are willing to come?
It probably has. Yes, I think. Well, I'm happy. Look, we're not across the line yet, and we've got a long way to go, but it's looking very healthy. Yeah. And I'm very pleased so far. And of course, some of the shows bring in a lot of families and friends and relatives. The kids show, for example, will sell out, as will Secondary Colours, as will Y Chromosome.
So hang on. Secondary Colours, what's that about?
Secondary Colours is dance
local
students,
secondary school dance programs,
between ages 8 to 13. And that will definitely sell out.
Yes.
So
because all mums, dads, aunties and grands will be wanting to go to that.
And godmothers. And
so how young are your youngest performers then?
Probably about age 4, I'd say.
Wow, yes.
Yeah, 4 through to 70 something.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, that there are so many young people going to dance schools now and getting dance degrees and things, but I always wonder, oh, I wonder how many of them will actually be able to make a living at their art.
Well, it's a meagre living, but a lot of them do make a living, and of course they substitute with other activities. But we've got 2 programs that are showcasing the young graduates. Well, first of all, we've got tertiary colours, which is students from the tertiary dance schools.
Right.
And then we've also got Fresh Cuts, which is a showcase of emerging choreographers.
Right.
So those who have come out of a dance institute within the last 5 years. And then we've also got Prime Cuts, which is established choreographers. So
I see that, yes, a festival favourite with extra special people who
It
really
is.
know their art
That's
in terms
right.
of choreography.
That's right, yeah.
And other famous people you've got involved, I gather, is Douglas Wright?
Yes, Douglas Wright's exhibition is on at the Gus Fisher Gallery throughout until the 20th. And other famous, well, the Royal New Zealand Ballet, of course, Sir John Trimmer.
And Michael Parmenter is involved,
yes, he's involved.
Gosh.
He's actually dancing, so this is a
It's
big gain for us, because in the last few years he's been primarily choreographing. He's currently at WOW in Wellington, and then joins us next week for Y Chromosome dancing with Alex Leon Hartzberger.
So how much rehearsal is involved for all of this? Do they actually come in and rehearse at Q Theatre beforehand, or is it all the rehearsal
It's all done beforehand.
Yes.
Often the works are in the making for at least a year, if not more, in advance. And then we have a final tech rehearsal to get them used to the space and get them used to each other. But
what size of audience does Q Theatre take?
In the rangatira it's 340,
right.
And in the loft it's 110.
And you yourself, you've got a big background in dance and dance management. I understand you've worked in London?
I worked in London at Sadler's Wells, and then I returned to New Zealand to the St James Theatre and the Opera House in Wellington. I have danced most of my life, but never been paid. So yeah, I
and you're
started
sitting
ballet
down, so one can't see because you're sitting down. But I'm assuming that you'd be too tall for a classical ballerina as well.
Yes, probably too tall.
Yes,
you've got to have real determination to become a professional.
Yes,
and you've got to be exceptional.
Yes,
like our lovely Brooke.
Yes, hold that up just for a moment so the camera can see it. Yes, you tell us about this girl.
So this is Brooke Ray, who's a graduate from the Mount Eden Ballet Academy, who is our hero image for this year. And she has just gone off to the Royal Ballet School in London. She was accepted and has just gone off to become a student. So
and that's a pretty rare thing to happen, isn't it?
That's pretty special.
For anyone to get into the Royal Ballet School is just an enormous tick on their career path, isn't it? Yeah.
And she's a past performer in tempo, so she's been in tempo several times before. So it's lovely to see the dancers coming through and then, flying off to do other great things.
What is it about dance, do you think, that makes it such a captivating thing for humans to both experience and to just go and absorb? Why is dance so appealing?
It's an inherent emotional thing. It's inside all of us, more in some than others. It's a form of expression, and it can express every emotion that there possibly is, and
goes right back to rhythms around the campfire, I guess, and in ancient
That's
times.
Right. And the rituals,
drums, and
yes.
So we feel it inside. It's not just something on the surface, is it?
No,
it's an incredibly
absolutely. And I think you're born a dancer, whether you're an amateur like I was, or whether you're a professional. You're born with that innate wish to dance in whatever form. And
is there any business or government body support for the Tempo Dance Festival, or do you have to stand on your own 2 feet?
Well, both. I mean, ticket sales are really, really important. But we are supported by Creative New Zealand, the ASB Community Trust, Creative Communities, and many other individuals who are very generous in their support.
Right. So there'll be a whole lot of excitement in the dance community right across Auckland, I guess, at the moment.
It's all going at the moment.
As this time approaches and is upon you.
Yes,
and lots of little girls who aren't getting much sleep.
That's right. And probably a lot of mothers too. Who aren't getting much sleep, and there's probably a lot of costumes being sewn at the moment and last minute touches being put to performances. So all across the country, particularly across Auckland, there's a lot of rehearsal going on at the moment as in the lead-in.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure it'll be a wonderful visual delight for everyone who goes along to Q Theatre, uphill from the Town Hall in Auckland.
Right next door to the Town Hall in Queen Street, that's right.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sometimes I'm not quick on the uptake with all things techie, and I've been a bit slow on the arrival of QR codes. QR is short for quick response. I suspect a lot of the Herald's readers are only just learning about QR too, because the grand old gowl of newspapers has taken to scattering codes all over its pages. Now, to read these little suckers, you need a smartphone. All you do is download a free QR scanning tool from the Apple or Android app stores, and you're good to go. Hold your phone over the square gizmo on the printed page, and in a moment you're connected online to videos or websites with more info. I noticed QR codes turning up on buildings and cars and trucks. In Kingsland, the Go Ahead Business Society has put snazzy QR codes on plaques fixed to old buildings as part of a new heritage walking trail. Great thinking. A blend of old and new all in one smart idea. QR codes aren't actually that new. They were invented by Toyota way back in 1994 for tracking car parts. See, good things do take time, even on the internet. As any creative writer will tell you, making a living at writing in New Zealand is monumentally hard. Most writers have a day job, and Julie Helene is no exception. She still finds time and creative energy, however, to turn out quality fiction, and has just won the $10,000 top prize in this year's BNZ Literary Awards. Hello Julie, welcome to Let's Talk, and congratulations on your fabulous win. I mean, $10,000, that's wonderful for a writer in New Zealand, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic, and to win it in a prize is so unexpected. It was the last thing I ever would have imagined, so I'm over the moon, as you could imagine. I'm still on cloud nine.
Yeah, so the awards were a couple of weeks ago, so did you know when, I gather the presentation was done in Wellington, did you know when you went there that you were the big winner?
Yes, I had the little phone call from the Bank of New Zealand, who sponsor the award, so they said, look, it's absolutely top secret, you have to know that because we want to publish your story in the program. Yes. And obviously it's quite,
and we also want to make sure that you're there, I suppose.
Yes, there was that, so so that was quite difficult actually, keeping it quiet, and I'm really pleased that I did actually, because it made it really fun on the night, and it was a big surprise, of course, for everybody else.
What difference do you think it might make to your writing career? It's a fabulous thing to have on the CV, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's put me on a trajectory, I guess, from being a writer to a serious writer, so I think that sort of adjective says it all, really. I have to take it really seriously now, and it's given me that boost to do that. I mean, I was always obsessive about it, but now I can be really sort of serious about it as well and carve more time to do it.
But you are also sort of seriously writing in your day job, aren't you? So what do you do? What's the day job involved?
I work for the Auckland District Health Board, and I'm a health planner. So my job is actually writing quite long, sort of bureaucratic documents. So it's desperately bureaucratic, writing annual plans, statements of intent, strategic plan, really chunky documents.
I bet.
But I love it. I mean, writing's writing, and I think you get a certain sort of fluidity going to a job every day, writing all day, getting quite a quick fast at it, getting those words down on paper, and hopefully delivering something to, getting the right pitch for the right audience. So there's a bit of
an absolute skilled journeyman in the business of churning out words, doing a job like that.
And I'm passionate about health as well, so it's quite an easy job for me to do.
But it must mean that you're tired when you get home from work. So then, finding the creative energy to sort of maybe instead of blobbing out with a glass of Pinot Noir in front of the telly or something and watching Coral Street or whatever, it must be quite hard to think, no, tonight I'm going to write another short story. Or how do you work?
Well, those nights with Pinot Noir do help the creative process. They do. They don't stand in the way, but I'm quite obsessive, I think, and if I have a goal, I'm kind of very driven sort of personality. And look, I just don't enjoy television any longer. I mean, I used to, but I don't now. And I love writing. It's a whole nother world. It's full of imaginary friends. I often find myself with my second wind about 10 o'clock at night. And
really? So you're a late night writer rather than getting up at 5 a.m.
Yes, I try and and I have a day off my sort of paid work a week that I dedicate to writing. So.
Really get stuck in, yes.
Oh, I really do.
Were you a little girl who was obsessed with reading?
Not reading.
When you were 8 or 9 or whatever?
I was a terrible reader, so it really surprises me that I love writing so much, because even the judge, Elizabeth Smither, who was the judge for this particular award, was really talking about the importance of reading, and I had to sort of say quite shamefaced to her, look, that's absolutely my weakness, I just don't have time to do as much reading as I should.
Now, you won this award for a short story. Is that your preferred form of writing? Or you've also, though, produced a novel, which we have on the desk in front of us, The Open Accounts of an Honesty Box, which came out about a year ago, I think.
It did a year ago, yeah.
So what is it that you like best, do you think, novels or the short form?
Well, I would have said novels until I won this award, so that really blew my socks off because they're so different, actually. Like, this particular novel is quite light and satirical, and it kind of bounces along, and it's quite a fun ride, and it's got lots of dialogue, and it's a lovely piece of fiction. But the short story, and most of the other short stories I've written, are quite sort of dramatic, and they seem a lot heavier and filled with, you know, dramatic sort of nuance, and they're very different, actually. So I'm not absolutely sure that I know what I am just at the moment.
The only trouble with short stories, though, is that they're really hard to get published, aren't they? I mean, hardly anybody publishes them in magazines or whatever in New Zealand these days. Well, except for Metro, North and South. I think both still do Summer and The Listener. Yeah. But that's about it. In summer holidays, the rest of the time, it's a desert, isn't it?
I'm interested now, though, because it's not a question I had asked before about whether I should try and get my short stories published. But now, of course, that this one's been successful, and I had another success earlier in the year through the New Zealand Society of Authors, and I've had another short story in Landfall, so I was thinking, gosh, maybe I should try and
perhaps this is me, after all.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It's going to be pretty hard to find a publisher for that sort of thing.
Now, your story, Misjudged, is a wonderfully colourful piece. Which is based, I gather, partly on your own experience as a child living in Dunedin with your father, who was a tailor. So could you explain it?
Oh, look, yes, he was a tailor and a kilt maker. 3 generations in our family of tailors, and then Dad got into kilt making. And Dunedin, of course, is full of pipe bands.
It's an amazing art form, making a kilt, doing it properly.
It's real craft in that. But I actually developed the story during a workshop with Jesmyn Ward, who's an American novelist who was over for the Writer and Readers Festival. And she ran a workshop and set us an exercise to write about something that had a little bit of heat in it. And we wrote about it from the first person, and then we wrote the same story from the third person narrative. So when I got home, I realised that that exercise had translated into what I thought was a lovely story. And it, of course, is based on childhood too. So and it was a real story. I mean, I remember my father setting me off, you know, to help him after school to get a parcel from the railway depot. And in my innocence, I thought, oh, well, he clearly meant for me to lug this huge, heavy thing all the way back to the shop.
It is a delicious piece about this small child with a great heavy tube of fabric wrapped up in brown paper with no string or handholds or whatever, and getting it over pavements and streets and thumping it up the stairs. I mean, you really, really take the reader there. But the other lovely thing I loved about it was the way you described the colours of this tartan fabric, and you almost make it come alive in writing about the oranges and the greens and the colours of the heather. And so how do you do that, do you think?
I mean, partly for me, I did train as a psychologist, and I sometimes think having good imagination is helpful, but I think my trainings really helped me get into that detail, that sort of learning to observe the really fine nuances in life, and then to be able to put some words to that and to see the subtext in life. So I think a little bit of training there's really helped me.
And when you're writing passages like that, though, where you're absolutely immersed in the moment, are you in a kind of a fugue state?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, do you completely lose ordinary life when you're sitting there at the keyboard?
Yeah, I'm pretty bad, actually. My girl can be at the door sort of calling out dinner's ready, and you know, I just don't even hear, so I do get lost. And that is the lovely thing about the creative process, if you can just go into that zone and actually smell those fabrics and see them and be right there.
And you think you've been working for 20 minutes and all of a sudden 2 hours has gone by or something. So do you have other ideas for other short stories you want to attack next?
Look, I've got another novel that's nearly at first draft stage, so I think that I will get that finished, and the short stories I'll pick them up as there are moments in time. I find it quite hard to toggle between 2 projects if I'm I've set myself this goal to get my second novel finished. So I really want to run towards that goal as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About how, do you have a sort of a goal every day when you sit down to write about how many thousand words you're going to do or whatever?
Well, my motto is just do it. Being at the computer and writing's enough. Yeah.
And if you have a dry day, do you just make yourself start hoping that once you've started, something will emerge that's worthwhile? Or are there times when you can sit there for 2 hours and write and think, this is just a load of tripe and delete it? Or, yeah.
No, I think, well, you know, I did the Masters in Creative Writing, and that was one thing that was really drummed home by our tutors, because we had Witi Ihimara. And
so this was at Auckland University?
Yes, it was, with Emily Perkins and Mike Johnson, and they were very, very good around mentoring us through that first draft stage, which is to really, you know, don't be a critic on your own shoulder. Never do that. Just enjoy the process. It's fun. And if you write for an hour and you think it's rubbish, there'll be a good sentence in there, or there'll be a springboard to something else. It's never, never wasted.
Yeah.
And if you're enjoying it, you can kind of take that monkey off your back and think, look, I'm here because I love doing it.
And if you're powering through a first draft, do you just every day start where you left off and carry on, or do you go back and read what you did the day before and alter and mess about and then move into it? Or because there are different ways of tackling these things.
Yes, it's. I think for me the dog walking does it really. I'll be out walking my dog, usually after work, and things materialise at that quiet time of walking and not listening to music or anything, and I'll often realise there's a bit of the novel that's a bit stuck, or there's a character that wants to do something, and so by the time I sit down after dinner, I've usually got the place to start, because the characters do kind of call the shots a bit after
I was
a
going
while.
to say, do they become real other people for you after you've set them in place and you've given them a name and you've got the description in their head? Do they become actual beings?
They do. They become quite demanding, and they want to do things and they want to say things, and if you just let them occupy you, they'll make me sit down and sort of say that sentence that's been on their mind, or to do something they've wanted to do.
Thanks for sharing some of your creative process. Good luck with it, Julie.
I'm still learning, obviously. I'm still a fledgling at this, but it's a very exciting stage.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
At the top of the show, I talked about smartphones, each of which is, of course, equipped with a natty camera. What a long way photo taking has come since 1965, when the hottest thing around was Polaroid's Swinger camera, the first camera to provide the masses with instant pictures, and for only $19.95. Watch this vintage TV ad closely, and you might spot a young Ali McGraw doing a spot of modelling, and that's Barry Manilow on the voiceover.
The Swinger, the incredible new low-priced Polaroid land camera for black and white pictures in 10 seconds.
Meet the Swinger, the incredible new Polaroid land camera for $19.95. It talks to you. Swing it up and take a look. Then turn the knob until it says yes, right in the viewfinder. Okay, you've got the right setting. 10 seconds later, you zip off a perfect black and white picture. The Swinger freezes action. It's always in focus. And it gives you beautiful close-ups. Incredible, especially at $19.95.
Hey, meet the Swinger, Polaroid Swinger. Meet the Swinger, Polaroid Swinger.
It's more than a camera, it's almost alive. It's only $19.95.
Swing it up, it says yes. Take the shot, count it down, zip it off. Hey, meet the Swinger, Polaroid Swinger. Meet the Swinger, Polaroid Swinger.
Carole Beu from the Women's Bookshop is in once again with a fabulous read off the shelves. What do you have this week?
Well, this is a really interesting new Australian novel. Courtney Collins is the author, and it's her first book, so I've never heard of her before, and it's called The Burial, and it's based on the legend of a woman called Jessie Hickman, who was a fugitive and bush ranger, really, in Australia in the early 1900s. So it's based on this true legend about this woman, but Courtney Collins has fictionalised it and created a novel out of it. Absolutely fascinating, rather strange and very different. Incredible landscape, so the Australian landscape, and particularly a mountain range that she ends up hiding in. She has a ghastly upbringing as a child and ends up married to a really horrible man who was cruel and vindictive, and it's just hideous. He brutalises her really, and she ends up killing him and running away. Now what her job for him, he's a cattle and horse rustler, and she is a brilliant horsewoman, and she ends up doing most of the work for him. So she's very, very skilled at stealing horses and cows and so on, and they rebrand them. So they'll steal a whole herd and rebrand the herd and then go and sell them.
And we know about this killing quite early in the plot.
Oh
really.
yes, we do.
So
Yes,
this is how it gets set up. Yes.
Yeah, she murders him quite early in the book, and in a most hideous situation, and then escapes on her horse. And it ends up there's a bounty put on her head, and there are little posses of men on horseback who want to earn the money, of course, by finding her. And so these men are chasing her all over the countryside. She's such a skilled horsewoman that she keeps ahead of them most of the time. And she ends up at one stage high up in the mountains with a group of young men. I mean, she's only in her probably late 20s at this stage, and she ends up with a group of very young men, some of them are only teenage boys, who are they're horse more than cattle, I think, rustlers themselves. But they're this little gang, they're like their own little family. And the youngest boy, who would be only 12 or 13, stays behind and minds their camp while they go out. And they take Jessie in, and she's really useful to them and can help them with her skills, and quite loves them really, and they love her. And she has a quite loving, respectful relationship with this group of boys who are outlaws themselves. She is finally caught, but I won't tell you what happens. It's fascinating. The landscape is very vividly created. She's an extraordinary character.
It's an amazing story, isn't it? One of those incredible Aussie legends. The country's full of them, isn't it?
At one point, when she's a teenager, before she's married to this ghastly man, she actually performs in a circus. And one of the, bareback riding on horses and all sorts of things.
So this is set quite a long time ago, presumably.
Yeah, early 1900s,
right.
yes. And one of the young performers, a young man who was in the circus, turns up again later in the story. So there's an interesting connection back to her youth. Vividly written and most unusual.
And a satisfactory ending. I know you can't reveal, but do you find
it
wraps itself up in a good sort of way?
She might get away, but you're not quite sure at the ending, so you're left wondering. But beautifully written.
I noticed this book's got a review on the cover, as I often do these days, which says it's lyrical and delicious.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is.
And oozing a febrility, which is an interesting word.
Yes.
So sort of a high fever sort of feeling about it.
Yes. Well, there's the tension and the heat and the tension of the chase, I guess, and just the whole ghastly situation of this woman's life. I mean, it's pretty grim.
Yeah, grim but gripping, hopefully.
Grim but gripping, absolutely.
Okay.
Good
Thank you so much, Carole Beu. Thanks for watching Let's Talk. Next week we'll hear how Waiheke Island is gearing up for its annual book festival. Words, wine and laughter. Sounds like a great weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.